On a stormy Sunday morning, thunder rumbled over the village of Eket, where whispers of Pastor Joshua's miracles had turned him into a living God. Inside the massive hall of Holy Ground Ministries, the faithful gathered in desperate anticipation. The wind howled outside, sending eerie whispers through the cracked windows, but the congregation was oblivious, their eyes glued to the altar. Pastor Joshua stood there, his hands raised high to the heavens, his voice a powerful echo that commanded the room. Today, you will witness the power of true faith. Today, the impossible will become reality. I will heal the sick. I will raise the dead. Just trust, and you will see. His words, infused with authority, made the crowd erupt into applause. But in the back of the church, Elizabeth watched silently. She was a woman of faith, raised with simple beliefs rooted in prayer and trust. Yet today, something was different. She had heard the rumors, the stories whispered late at night, strange events happening in the church, and something that didn't sit right with her. Elizabeth knew the signs. Raised in a household that respected the old ways, stories of ancestral spirits, river gods, and cautionary tales of false prophets. Her faith had always been clear. But there was a creeping unease in her chest as she watched the man, once warm with promise, now glow with an unsettling intensity. What was he hiding? As Pastor Joshua raised his hands again, the crowd fell into a deep silence. Elizabeth's eyes flicked to the woman standing near the front. Mama, an elderly healer who had become notorious for her miracle healings. Elizabeth had seen this woman's supposed miracles before, but today something felt off. Mama stepped forward, her hands slowly gliding over the shoulders of a man who had been limping for days. The crowd gasped as the man stood up, his legs no longer trembling, but Elizabeth had seen him just yesterday, struggling to walk. There was no way he could have healed so quickly. This wasn't the power of prayer, it was something else, something unnatural. She quietly slipped from her seat and followed the man outside after the service. As the night fell, Elizabeth's heart pounded in her chest. She trailed him down a narrow alley behind the church, the streetlights flickering as the wind carried a low hum. When the man turned into the woods, Elizabeth hesitated, her instinct telling her to turn back, but curiosity pulled her forward. She rounded a corner and froze. There, in the shadows, a dark figure awaited. The man kneeled before it. A woman, tall and draped in a robe that shimmered with strange symbols, stepped from the darkness. Her eyes glowed faintly as she whispered something Elizabeth couldn't hear. The man didn't look like a healed soul anymore. He was different. His eyes were hollow, empty. "What is this? Who are they?" Elizabeth whispered to herself, her voice trembling. As she watched, the woman raised her hands to the sky, and the man stood, his movements eerily fluid. He turned toward Elizabeth, but didn't acknowledge her presence. The realization hit Elizabeth like a slap. Pastor Joshua's so-called miracles weren't divine at all. They were a pact with something far darker. She turned and ran, the unease in her chest growing heavier with each step. Her thoughts raced. Was the pastor truly the man of God he claimed to be, or was he hiding something much more sinister? The question gnawed at her, but she knew one thing for certain: she couldn't ignore it any longer. The next day, Elizabeth gathered a group of trusted villagers who had seen the strange happenings and heard the rumors. Together, they planned to confront Pastor Joshua, but the closer they got to the church, the more fear seemed to hang in the air. Something wasn't right. Elizabeth's heartbeat quickened as they approached the church grounds. The sky above them seemed to darken, and the air grew thick with tension. Just as they entered the church, a strange chill swept through the building. The lights flickered, and then, from the shadows, figures emerged, creatures that were half human, half beast, their eyes glowing with an unnatural light. They were the guardians of the river gods. Elizabeth's breath caught in her throat. This wasn't just about faith. This was about something far older. The villagers hesitated, but Elizabeth's resolve was clear. She would not stand by and let this darkness consume her people. They would face the truth, no matter the cost. As they pushed forward into the church, they found Pastor Joshua standing at the altar, his eyes blazing with power, His calm demeanor had vanished, replaced by an unholy intensity. "You have no idea what you're up against," he sneered. "These are the ancestors' gifts, the river's blessings. You think you can stand in the way of fate?